I know what some of you might be thinking. Really? Player customization? We haven't even seen gameplay yet. Unfortunately, that's the nature of game development. I mean, most of you are aware that we have one programmer doing all of the engine stuff for one night a week, and another technical artist doing all of the other stuff, while I do whatever it is I can do to help. From 3D modeling, animations, recording and making these videos, building our little community. Do I want to do a devlog that dives into how Amir took the immense challenge of adding digging, shooting, and building into the engine? Of course I do. But we have to go with what we have. And believe it or not, since Born to Build will be a free-to-play game, this player customization system might just be our main source of income, which makes it a bit important, which is why it must not be taken lightly. Think about it this way. With game development, you have to make decisions that you'll only know their outcomes years in the future. And while it can seem odd to work on such a system so early, at the end of the day, it's a system that could make or break this project from a financial standpoint. So it has to be secure, it has to be tracked, and it has to have an internal pipeline that can scale alongside the game while not breaking anything between releases. So before I dive into the process of creating a customized asset, let's discuss what we currently have in mind for the system. So I'll take you to Figma, inside the barracks, which is a UI I've designed to track multiple systems. It is by far our most complicated UI scene. Missions are on the right, the player model is in the center, items are on the left, and the player avatar and progression sit at the top. Okay, so I'll prefix this as I always do. Things will change, and this is not running in engine because we are 100% focused on gameplay at the moment. Alright, the animations you're seeing here have been exported from Maya as a way to test and get a feel for how the UI will work and how the assets from Maya actually behave when exported, which will mirror the way they should behave in engine. So let's go over the basics. These are currently the item types that we're aiming to do. The card represents items that go on the helmet. The helmet, obviously, represents skins for the helmet. The soldier is the skin, which means his literal, skin. Then you have the uniform. Then you have the backpacks. And finally, the water canteen represents miscellaneous items. Since we're on the skin tab, we can go ahead and choose a different skin. In this case, it also changes the uniform, but this will be separated once it's all in engine. Each skin has a unique name and will only change the following attributes: bandana, hair, eyebrows, stubble, and the skin. Once we have an account system set up, any skin you will unlock will be tied to that specific account. So let's go through the skins with the helmet item to show that it isn't affected by the soldier skins. Let's move on to the backpack slot. We'll turn our grunt over and toggle the backpack. The rig has a predetermined point in space, so it can be attached to all pre-existing animations without issue. So now let's move to the miscellaneous items that can be placed on your grunt. Let's choose the radio. As you can see, the radio has been added to a unique place, and other unique items such as the canteen or a magazine will be placed in other areas. So you can't just equip a ton of unique items, but they'll have their own unique places, which is why they're labeled as either miscellaneous or unique. This is just a basic overview of how we're imagining the system to work. So that'll bring us to the big question of how will I even get these items? So here's what we're thinking. We're aiming to do something along the line of the Deep Rock Galactic supporter packs. If you're not sure what that means, it's essentially a pack of cosmetics that cost X amount of dollars to be determined that reward you with in-game items, mostly cosmetics. And the way we think we should incorporate it should be tied together with community events. What do I mean by this? Here's what I'm thinking. Every time that we release an official map, like the Boonies, the map itself will be free, of course, but should you want to support us and the Born to Build project, you'll be able to purchase said pack, which will just be called the Boonies pack, and receive cosmetic items as a reward, letting every soldier on the battlefield know that they're fighting alongside a genuine grunt. That way, every official map we release will have its own unique set of cosmetic items, which will then be able to be purchased somewhere in-game or perhaps on our website. We still have to set this up. It's very expensive to keep a free game free, ain't it? I mean, I suppose that Patreon could be a viable option as well, but I don't think that will represent the majority of players, and we have to figure out what offer we can present there, to Patreon supporters if enough soldiers show interest. So if you have any suggestions or ideas, by all means, just let me know on our Discord. So this is a very basic overview. We don't want the cosmetics to push the boundaries of design. We want to keep them simple. We want to keep them in theme, in the era that the game and the map takes place. And considering the fact that, at least the way I see it, you'll have official servers with the official maps, of course we want the community to add their own maps into the game and play. So we're hoping that by providing this kind of playground for all of us Ace of Spades veterans to create, by all means, you can right now create a map in Goxel, which Grandy, by the way, has made incredible updates to. I really suggest you check it out. It's incredible. Any map you create in Goxel will work with the engine. So it's only the official maps that will have these custom items attached to them, but you will still, like I said, receive these maps regardless. All right? That's where I'm at. Could change. This is what made the most sense to me. And with Influx and Grandy, we discussed it. I met them lately and we just had a chat about it. And I think it could be a unique way to try and fund a game studio. Now I'll dive into something a bit more technical, which is mostly me paraphrasing what Heyman has done to show his side of the pipeline, which is how he got these assets to work. So how do we actually make these custom items? We'll start with our studio launcher. Heyman wrote it in order to launch our custom instance version of Maya, as you can see by our lovely splash screen, which is my one and only contribution to this pipeline. Next, we'll launch the pipeline tool by pressing the Gurnt button. You'll see our main asset types here. So we'll head over to props and select the default helmet prop. After choosing the helmet, we need to choose the type of workflow we want to launch. In this case, it's rigging. Oh God. Modeling is self-explanatory and public is reserved for engine-ready workflows. Now we'll open the item placement tool. Our first option is to assign positions. These positions will serve as coordinates for our engine, telling it where to place the asset on top of another asset. This is important. You want to save work because, me as the animator having to move the character, I don't want to have to individually animate additional items. So this inheritance has to be preserved and translated for the engine. So let's start with our Ace of Spades card. I'll just make sure that we're aligned with the front of the model, and we'll start by adding a position object. Then move it around freely to where we want. I think that looks good to me, right? It doesn't have to be perfect because we can assign different offsets to each position later on. So let's just continue and create more positions. So let's press the plus symbol, and now I get a new position. We just copy and paste the values of the first position and make adjustments from there. Let's just place it on the right side. I'll move it around and just add more. There's no need to worry about objects' rotations at the moment, as we'll make those adjustments later. All we care about right now is their positions in the asset space. Once we're happy with their positions, we'll collect them. I forgot to name it, so we'll do that and then hit collect again. Let's head to the output file and see the results. We got their names down alongside their index translate values. And the bone that controls the master asset, the helmet, currently appears as null. This is a bug. Heyman has already fixed it, but this video was recorded before that. Now we'll open the props library and choose the card asset. Here it is, hiding under the helmet. We'll now open the asset options and assign to any of the positions we already set on the helmet. So let's start with adding the front and right positions and hit snap. Now we select its main controller and adjust the position. Let's say that's fine for now. Let's press the set button. Now that the position and rotation information is saved, we'll move to the next point. Let's rotate it and make our fine adjustments. Now we'll hit set again. We can now toggle between the positions. After an asset is snapped, any changes made by mistake will be ignored, which is Heyman's way of preventing someone like me from destroying everything, alright? Very important. So let's export the data. Now we can see the new items class. We'll note that it's recognized as card, which is why all the assets have a unique name and ID, which is important for tracking them. Now we'll update the new asset by hitting commit and adding notes. you'll notice the new version appearing on the right. So now we'll add the updated helmet item, and you can see that the card comes attached to the helmet, and we can change the skins without affecting it. Let's move him around so you can see that it's attached. How about another customizable item slot, like the backpack? Unlike the helmet, the backpack is a standalone asset. So, to keep in theme with the helmet graffiti, we chose to pool our resources and make the ground model and the helmets a type of baseline asset that can have different skins with additional customization options on top, while the rest of the items will be slot specific, as I showed you in the barracks UI. And you can see the backpack also moves with the rig. So here we are at the end. If you made it past this part, you're a true grunt, what can I say? Thank you for making it all the way here late in the video and for sticking by us after all of this time. I'd like to share one more thing with you before I head off. It's from a game that's near and dear to most of us, I think. It's a short segment from the commentary track for Half-Life 2 that was recently added to the game on the 20th anniversary update. It was truly like therapy for me, and it gave me a lot of hope and determination to push through all of the hurdles that we're constantly facing, both from inside of our once-in-a-week studio and out. It touches on the fear of game development and what it actually feels like from our end. And I hope it gives you some insight. Don't get me wrong, I want to do this for a living. It's extremely rewarding, but it's also daunting and difficult. And I wish we could give it more than a day a week, but at least I can tell you that we remain consistent and we're still at it. And I hope the next devlog arrives sooner than later. So thanks again. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, soldiers.
Looking back on Half-Life 2 now, 20 years later, it's sobering to reflect on how terrifying it was throughout much of the development. Game development is hard. You never really get what you'd like to have, which is be able to validate risk before you start to pile more on top of it. For example, our facial animation technology, it took probably 3 or 4 years of work before we were confident it was actually going to work, but we couldn't wait until then. In that first year, we immediately started making all kinds of other choices in our game design, our asset production, and our other technologies, all based on the assumption that our facial animation technology was going to work in the end, from a quality and performance standpoint. If it hadn't, many of those other choices wouldn't have worked either. At the same risk profile is true of other large choices we made early on. We can't wait. We just have to build and hope that our guesses will be true years from now. Terrifying.